Long time no see, guys. Thanks for joining me for some level 2 two-step problem practice with solving equations. Glad you're here. In case you didn't watch my last video on my introduction to solving equations, we talked about how the goal in solving equations is to isolate the variable. It's important to note that with two-step problems, our goal stays the same. We are still trying to isolate the variable. It's just a little bit more challenging. We have to do a little bit more work to get there. If you're in my class, make sure that you're filling out the practice that we do today in your math notebook. But if you're not in my class, feel free to grab a scrap sheet of paper and follow along with us. Okay, so here's our first practice problem. W over 3 plus 7 equals 34. So the first thing I want you to note is that there's two different operations going on here. We obviously have addition, and then when we have a fraction, we know that every fraction is a division problem. So doesn't W over 3 look like a fraction? Yeah, so W over 3 is the same thing as saying W divided by 3. So we actually have division and we have addition going on. These are the steps that I recommend that you follow to solve multi-step equations or to isolate a variable in a multi-step equation. To help you remember the steps, you can think of the acronym DON'T CALL AFTER MIDNIGHT. DON'T stands for you're going to distribute anything you can first. C stands for you're going to combine any like terms. A, don't call after. A stands for you're going to undo any addition or subtraction. And then M stands for you're going to undo any multiplication or division. It's going to feel weird for a while to undo addition and subtraction before you undo multiplication and division because we're so used to doing addition and subtraction last in our order of operations. So let's look here at this original problem. Okay, we have addition and we have division. So why we're going to undo addition first is because this 7 is a constant. It's all by itself. It doesn't have a variable attached to it. And since it doesn't have a variable attached to it, it's easier to move to the other side of the equation. So that's why we're going to do it first, because it doesn't have any attachments. It can move wherever it wants. Unlike this W is stuck with the 3. They're connected with division. And they're one term. W over 3 is one term. So in order to undo that, we're going to have to wait until W over 3 is on the side by itself. So we're finally going to get to start solving this problem. Okay, so let's start by, is there anything to distribute? No. Do I have any like terms that I can combine? No. So that means that I'm going to first start by undoing any addition or subtraction. Since I have addition, I would say to undo addition, I need to use its inverse operation. The inverse operation of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 7 from this side, and then I'm also going to end up subtracting 7 from 34. Whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other. You'll notice how I drew a line down the middle. A lot of people like that to help them visualize the two sides and making sure they're staying balanced. Okay, so 7 minus 7, that will cancel out. That's the whole point of inverse operations. So now 34 minus 7 is 27. So I'm left with 27 over here. So I'm going to say 27 equals, and then W over 3 I still have. So now that W over 3 is on this side by itself, now I can undo that division. So to undo division, the inverse operation of division is multiplication. So we're going to use multiplication to undo it. So here I'm dividing by 3, so to undo it, I need to multiply both sides by 3. So that would mean that those 3's would cancel out, and then I would be left on this side with W, and we would say W equals, what is 27 times 3? Well, 27 times 3 is 81. So W equals 81. That is our final solution. Something I didn't mention in my last video, but is super important, is that once we get our solution, we want to make sure that we are checking our answer. One of the awesome things about equations is that it's super simple to check your answers. The only thing you have to do is you take your solution and you're going to substitute it back into the original equation and see if you get the right answer. So I would write, instead of W, I would write 81 over 3 plus 7 equals 34. And now I would solve this. Well, what is 81 divided by 3? 81 divided by 3 is 27. So 27 plus 7, does that equal 34? Yes. So that means that my answer is correct. Here's my next problem. 145 equals 5, open parentheses, 7g plus 1, close parentheses. So let's follow our steps. First, I need to distribute. Is there anything that I can distribute here? Yeah, the 5. So I need to distribute this 5 in first. Once I distribute the 5, I should get 145 equals 35g plus 5. So my next step, combining like terms. Do I have any like terms to combine? No. So then my next step, undoing any addition or subtraction. I see addition, so to undo addition, the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. Once I subtract 5 from both sides, these 5 cancels out, and I'm left with 140 equals 35g. So now I need to undo my multiplication. So to undo multiplication, we are going to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 35. Once I divided by 35 on both sides, I got my solution. 4 equals g. So once I get my solution, I should always go back and substitute that solution into the original equation. So I would say 145, does it equal 5, open parentheses, 7 times 4 plus 1? Well, 7 times 4 is 28, and then 28 plus 1 is 29, and 5 times 29 is 145. So yes, it works. All right, last problem here. So step number 1, distribute. I can distribute this 2. So I'm going to distribute the 2 inside to everything. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 times 7d. If you remember this from our expressions unit, 2 times 7d is 14d. Remember, you multiply your coefficients and the variable stays the same. It's probably a good idea to go back and look at your expressions unit because a lot of the stuff that we're doing is very similar. Like we did distributing during our expressions unit. So you might want to go back and check in your math notebook to just refresh your brain on those rules. Once I have distributed, I'm just going to bring down the rest of my equation. So now I have 6 plus 14d minus 5d equals 24. After I've distributed, our next step is to combine like terms. So I see like terms here. Once again, we did this in our expressions unit. You might want to check it, please. I can do 14d minus 5d because they both have a d and they both have the same exponent. So 14d minus 5d is 9d. So I would say 6 plus 9d equals 24. And not 90, 9d as in dog. We are almost there. Okay, so I'm going to undo my addition next because I did my distributing, I did my combining, so undoing addition is next. To undo addition, we need to use the inverse operation, which is subtraction. So we are going to subtract 6 from both sides to get, those cancel out, and we get 9d as in dog equals 18. My very last step is to undo my multiplication, which we are going to use the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. Divide both sides by 9, divide by 9 to get d equals 2. We did it. In all my excitement of almost being done, I almost forgot to check my answer, but it's a good thing because I was running out of room anyway. So we need to check our answer. So I plugged in 2 for D everywhere I could. So now we're going to follow the order of operations to solve this problem and make sure that it works. So 7 times 2 inside the parentheses, we need to do that first, which is 14 plus 3, 2 on the outside minus 5 times 2 equals 24. 3 plus 14 is 17 times 2 minus 5 times 2 equals 24. 2 times 17 is 34 minus 5 times 10. My goodness, words are hard. I promise that I know that 2 times 5 is 10, okay? It happens to the best of us. Who gave me a teaching license? 5 times 2 is 10 equals 24. 34 minus 10, yes, equals 24. I do find it oddly satisfying checking my answer, so make sure you check your answers. Okay, guys, thanks for bearing with me today. I know it was a lot of talking. I'm sorry, I don't like talking this much, but I hope that it was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any more questions or want any extra practice problems or anything. Just send them my way. And I love you guys. I miss you. Goodbye.